I have the best job, but it can also be the hardest job. I'm a veterinarian, which means that throughout my life, my sole focus has always revolved around the health of this. Your pet, from birth through puppy and kittenhood and into adolescence, through that face licking and shoe chewing phase where it's always the most expensive pair that gets damaged, past the gaining of wisdom, like why eating dead things washed up on the beach really isn't the smartest idea they've ever had, and into the years of quietening where the point of life suddenly becomes how successfully they can lie directly underfoot as you move about the kitchen. Now, I always knew I cared about the health of your pet. However, quite soon after graduation, I realised that I also really cared about this. I cared about the details of your life. The new baby, the broken arm at soccer, the promotion at work. I cared about the fact that your pet was a part of your family. And this is why I know that at some point, you're going to need a veterinarian like me. I'm what's called a palliative care veterinarian, which means I deal with the health of your pet during the end of life stages. So this is the point where you may have been given a terminal diagnosis for your pet, or where you've recognised that your pet is now struggling, and where the cumulative impacts of chronic illness and age-related changes begin to affect happiness. In Australia, veterinarians that specialise in this kind of care are not commonplace, but it's a statistic that I'm determined to change because I see the benefits of it every day. And as our pets become more a part of our lives than ever, as we continue to help them live longer through great preventative care, I believe we need to be better prepared for end-of-life discussions. And I get it. In this situation, the emotions are always devastating. But the process doesn't have to be, which is why I decided to start my own palliative care practice. At its heart, palliative medicine is about delivering the most compassionate care we can. It's care which is focused on quality of life and what that means, not based on numbers or statistics, but for your individual pet. It's about ensuring that we are adequately managing their pain and the progression of their condition. It's about preparing you for what's to come, so that we lessen the fear that may prevent you making good decisions. In its end stages, for my profession, palliative care is also about helping families say a gentle goodbye. So, over recent years, we've really seen dramatic changes in the standards of care that vets can now deliver, and people are often surprised when they hear that almost all of the treatment options that would be available for you are also available for your pets. Our veterinary hospitals and specialist centres are often state-of-the-art, and they do amazing work. But ultimately, just as we have seen in the human health world, hospitals are designed for the management of treatable disease. They are not always the right place for us to deliver comfort or to say goodbye to those we love. So I'm redesigning the script for pets and for owners during this difficult time. And I want you to meet Turbo. Now, Turbo was a champ. This superstar absolutely rocked the world that he lived in. He was one of those special souls that makes the world a better place just by being in it. At the age of 5, he was diagnosed with kidney failure. But despite the poor prognosis, his family wanted to do everything that they could to ensure that his last days were some of his best days. So we addressed his nausea, his dehydration, and his underlying infections. And this superstar began to get his groove back. Over the months that followed, Turbo received daily supported home care from his family and fortnightly visits from me. He visited his regular vets for monitoring of his kidney function, and with his support team on board, he got on with living. He went boating and fishing. He rode shotgun in the truck with Dad. And during the period of his illness, Turbo brought his entire extended family back together again by demanding that they attend regular backyard campouts in his honour. In September last year, when it became clear that it was time to let him go, we planned a peaceful goodbye underneath his favourite tree. And there was no stress, no fear, only sadness, which was lessened somewhat by knowing that he had received the best of care right up until the very end. So let's talk about how we implement the ideals of palliative care for our pets. Firstly, we need to be more comprehensive in our care. And I'm not talking just about the medicine, because chances are your vet's already doing that. But when a family approaches us after receiving a terminal diagnosis, we'll also ask them whether they've thought about a photography session to help them treasure the moments that they still have with their pet. Sometimes we'll talk about bucket lists. For a pet, I know it sounds crazy, but it's about joy and life and living in the midst of all of that loss. We understand that grief can be overwhelming, so we have a registered psychologist on staff who can help our clients through. And if talking isn't their thing, we have a library of books that we loan out, some for kids, some for adults, to help them learn about loss and cope better with the weight of their grief. We need to be more personable. Now, our patients can't speak, but there is so much that we can learn from heartfelt conversation with an owner. And it takes a little extra time, but I promise you, it absolutely improves patient outcomes. And we need to know about that pet's individual personality, because it will greatly impact the choices that we will make for them. And if the process of actually medicating is damaging the pet-owner relationship, we need to stop, rethink it, and come up with a better plan. We need to be brave. Now, I first have that conversation about how our treatment plan has now evolved to comfort beyond a cure. Then I dispense that extra pain relief, because in that pet's life, if my actions today will make their tomorrow a little better, then that's absolutely an action that I'm going to take. Where possible, we need to offer more mobile services. I know that this is a challenge for many vets in practice, but the benefits of home care are extensive. I want families to be intricately involved in any care decisions we make, and I want to see that they are comfortable delivering the treatment options that I prescribe. Most importantly, I know how hard that last day will be. And for the families I visit, being at home as we say goodbye makes everything just a little easier. So pet owners, if this applies to you right now, ask your vet about your options for a palliative care plan. My fellow vets, be open to these conversations, because palliative care is insurance against suffering. It allows families to focus on what's important. And whilst we know that the loss of a friend is always devastating, it's time to rethink the way in which we help them go. Thank you.